Okay, this is going to cover using Aqua Map for ICW navigation. We had a good meeting today, about 14 or so people at noontime at Titusville Marina. Wish you could have been there. We'll go through here what I showed to them at that meeting. Here you see what it looked like if you're going to approach Browns Inlet this past few months. You see a 3-month limit there, depth right in the middle of the channel. The survey of 8.7 is shown, and as an Aqua Map, 8 power boats wound up going through that area and plowed into it, damaging their props. And talking to the marina where they pulled into, the dockmaster estimated roughly about $2,500 damage to each of those 8 boats. Had they had the chart you see in front of you, I believe they would have taken a different course rather than going straight through. Now, the buoys did not direct boaters away from the shoal. Actually, it did the opposite. Just look at G61A. You wouldn't believe from the chart that you could split 60 and 61A and be in safe passage, but that is not the case. Only Aqua Map with the U.S. ACE surveys showed the shoal. Now, what about no charts? If you had a chart plotter, here's what you would have seen. 60 and 61A displayed at either side of the channel. So you would believe you go right down the middle and you should be safe. But that is not the case. You'd run into that 3-foot shoal, and actually less as time progressed. Now, what about just following Sonar Chart? After all, Sonar Chart advertises that they make 5,000 updates a day, so surely they're going to capture this shallow spot. Well, what they showed was 11 feet, right at the spot where there's a problem. And that was updated as of 9/16, the time of the 8 power boats groundings, and they did not show the 3-foot spot. Sonar Chart shows 11. Now, the problem with Sonar Chart is that it responds slowly to changes in depth. They depend upon boaters going through an area, and if it didn't go all the way through, for example, they get stopped by a shoal, they never see the depth beyond that point. And these power boats may not have been sending their depths anyway. So Sonar Chart has a problem with rapidly changing areas. I run both Sonar Chart and also Aqua Map at the helm simultaneously. They both have good information. And for example, Sonar Chart's very good going through Jekyll Creek. That's a very slowly changing area, and practically the same route is recommended if you follow either Aqua Map or Navigatiion. But in cases where there's rapid shoaling, that is not the case, such as at Browns Inlet. Now here's another example. Here's Isle of Palms. The channel goes right through the middle there, nice and straight. You see that dotted line, which might give you some pause to consider because that's a Bob Fortune 3 track. Here you see what's really happening. In the middle of the channel is the 2.8 feet. That's not so good for the bottom of a boat. The dotted line avoids that, at least it finds the deepest water around that area. Another example was here at McClellanville. Again, the channel's right down the middle there, but that blue dotted line goes outside the channel. And here you see what's really happening is that the upper part of the channel is down to 3.3 feet. You need to go outside the channel to find the deepest water. If you had an Aqua Map with the surveys, you would know that, or the Bob Fortune 3 tracks. So there's plenty of features that are beyond the surveys. They update their charts weekly from the weekly NOAA updates. NOAA doesn't update the charts any more frequently. It's once a week, and when those charts are updated, update and Aqua Map follows. So you're never out of date. A lot of the chart plotters will update their charts like every 6 months or once a year. Not so with Aqua Map. they follow the no updates. Even though Navigatiion advertises 5,000 updates a day, they don't update their charts, no charts, base charts weekly. They may do some editing from manual updates that they noticed from the local notice of mariners, but the basic chart is not updated weekly. ATONs and local notice of mariners announcements updated weekly. You activate a chart to get ETAs or bridges and things. AnchorWatch knows most advanced weather model. HRRR is used. A water guide and active captain icons, tides and currents, creation and importing of routes and tracks, auto syncing above tracks for the ICW, auto upload. All these features cannot be covered in this seminar, but we'll hit the highlights and get you going. Okay, let's get started. Which device to use? I've used Aqua Map on an iPhone, Android phone, Android tablet, and iPad. They all work. Android devices all have GPSs. Only the cellular models of Apple devices have GPS. And the Apple cellular devices, well, they have a known problem with the GPS cutting out slow speeds, otherwise known as sailboat speeds, as opposed to powerboat speeds. I suppose Apple is trying to save money, or not money so much as save battery life, to the detriment of the GPS being cut out once in a while. There's multiple inputs I've made to Apple on this problem, but they don't seem to want to address it. So a workaround is to use a Bluetooth GPS or the GPS and a Wi-Fi gateway. Devices I've tested that work well with Aqua Map, you see on the left there, those links below you see are active. If you tap on the link, you will get a detailed web page describing what those are. Any of those work well, with a caveat that for the Apple you may need a device that gives you an internal, external source of GPS location. Okay, first step, download Aqua Map. You can tap on the left-hand pane and you'll be taken to the Apple site. The Apple site will have links to show you if you want to download the Apple Store or get it on Apple Play. Step 2, purchase the charts. You can do it by tapping on the icon in the bottom of the corner and going to the map display and tapping on where you want to buy a chart. Then you'll get a little pop-up telling you how much the chart costs and so forth. I'll show you a second way to buy charts later on. The value here is once you purchase a chart, you may not want to load every single tile. Load the ones you use the most, so you save space in your device, and also save space with automatic updating when you want to update just the tiles you use and not the entire area, which takes more time. Step 3, purchase an Aqua Map Master subscription. The reason you want to do that is that that's what contains the U.S. ACE surveys. And that's the big advantage of Aqua Map, are those surveys. It also comes with a bunch of other useful features, like Route Explorer, Marine Forecast, Coast Guard buoys, AIS and NEMA connections, Anchor Link, etc. But the main thing is you get the surveys. You do that with a tap as illustrated in the foil. Now the screen you get is covered with icons along the edge. So starting at the bottom left, for example down here, you'll see chart inventory. That's the one to find out what chart you own. In this area will be your depth, your wind speed if you're connected to NEMA with the gateway, otherwise it's blank. To record a track, what you want to do is tap on the REC button, then your track would be recorded, and later on you have an opportunity to save it. A tap here will let you cause Aqua Map to follow your boat as you proceed down the ICW. The Find button is here, and when you tap on that, you get a chart or table that lists all your routes, markers, and tracks, unless you find which ones you want to use. Now, the good thing about it is, if you tap on the distance icon choice in that table, it'll only bring up the tracks and routes, etc., that are close to where you're at. You have to search through the whole history invitation of your entire world worth of tracks, only the ones that are nearby to you. You can do otherwise, of course, but that's very handy. Also, will even find the nearest tide stations based upon the distance from where you're at. You can take a photo with your phone, for example, and it actually is tied to your location. You can have a ruler that will let you measure distances on the chart. You have your weather here that'll show wind velocity and direction, as well as wave and current conditions. And the big difference with Aqua Map on the wind prediction from HRRR is that it's updated on the moment you actually push the button. Some of the weather apps will have the same HRRR prediction for wind, but will only update once every 4 hours, once every 5 hours, or so forth. So check to make sure how often they're updated. In Aqua Map, you're updated as soon as you press that button. And you have settings, which is what we're going to look at the next time. Okay, let's go through the settings. You got Aqua Map, you got the charts you want. Now let's go through the settings to make it look the way you want it to. And right on this foil are links to the help and tutorials, which are available with a tab right published by Aqua Map. Now here's a chart store. One way was I showed you looking at the bottom left-hand icon, the map icon, looking at tiles. This gives you more of a global view of what chart you actually want. And there's a link to Bahama Explorer chart website, give you more detail on that outstanding chart for the Bahamas. Really, it's a gold standard for charts in that area. My Boat allows you to set up your boat name for sharing along with fuel consumption speed for route planning. The land data can be set to normal, which shows roads, or if you don't want that much clutter, go to hidden, and only the navigation data would be shown. Now you might want online satellite images. If you're going into a marina and you're a little uncertain about where your slip is at, you can see the layout of the marina before you enter into the area to give you a little heads up whether you make a right turn, a left turn, or what the layout of the marina looks like. It's a good aid to have. You need access to internet to see that, but it's not a big draw, and most of the tablets and iPhones have data anyway. There are some additional raster overlays you may want to look at. Tides and current displays can be turned on or off, useful for a less cluttered display if it's not needed. Fishing charts for specialized areas, an anchor alarm with many options and settings. Moving on, going further down the menu, you want to enroll in Aqua Map Master in order to get the USAC survey, of course. I think you've already done that. Turn on marine forecasts can be enabled with options on how to display the forecast overlays. Now, weather buoys are maintained by NOAA, and Aqua Map has done a job of displaying these buoys along the coast, and with a tap you can see what the real-time display is of wind and waves, which can be useful before you head out to make that run down the coast and know what's happening right away. Route Explorer I'm going to talk about in more detail a little later. AIS displays the locations of ships, but it only works if you have an AIS receiver installed. Wi-Fi connections are useful, but you need a gateway, and that's beyond the content of this presentation. And here's what you want to always have implemented: USAC surveys. They're selected with options on how old a survey you want to show, and whether the older surveys are faded or not. Coast Guard data shows the Locomotive Mariners listings of all ATONs, including damage and off-station buoys. And if you tap on the anywhere on the chart, you get an option to looking at all the local notice mariner notices that apply to that location. And Aqua Map's done the work for you to sort out all those 100-page worth of local notice mariners. So what you see is only the ones that apply to the area that you're interested in. And not only that, they're sorted by various categories, like those that apply to shoaling, those that apply to dredging, those that apply to announcements about bridge closings. Very useful feature. Moving further down the list, the GEC account is something you want to set up. Once you have it set up, then you can have up to 5 devices on the same account. And those devices all have access to the same GEC account. So if you save a track in one device, say an iPad, you can also access the same track in another device like your iPhone, or even in another device across from Android. So all your information relative to routes and waypoints and tracks are available to all your devices. So you want to set that up. Live sharing allows you to share your location with everyone or just friends, which is great for a flotilla. You know where all your friends are at. What have we got? Icons with options for icon size and labels is active. Or you can choose active captain, or you can have both. Crowdsourced proximity is something I'm not going to discuss here in depth. Just be aware that people that have a connection with their NEMA into Aqua Map can store their tracks into the cloud in a NOAA database for access by anybody. And it's a worldwide database, has fantastic potential. I use it already a couple places where they were showing to see if people saw a shallow spot that was developing. And sure enough, they did. And the source of those are uploaded automatically by people who go into settings and allow it to happen. It only happens with your permission. Moving further down the menu appearance selects light or normal dark view. Depends on what you want. The map appearance can be set to day or night. Night to save night vision, for example. The depth coloring gives you a choice of how charts look. Pick the one you like. The safety depth sets the depth the chart shows a blue background. So white is for very deep water. And then if you run into an area that gets a little shallow, you can make it 12 feet, 10 feet, 5 feet, your choice. And that area then turns blue. Perspective view is something useful to some people. It looks as if you're 30 or 40 feet above your boat looking forward. And it shrinks the forward motion to see further ahead than what you would if you're looking at it in normal mode. Try it out and see if you like it. Some people like it, some don't. And map visibility. Boy, you get about 16 different options. We won't go into those options today, but to understand that you're able to get the chart to look exactly the way you want to. You fiddle with, for example, the size of the buoys, how they're displayed, whether or not they have labels on them to tell you that icon over there talks about the name of a particular marina, for example. And it depends upon how much screen space you have. You may have everything on for a 4.9 inch iPad Pro, for example, but for a phone you may change the map visibility so you have more screen space for navigation. It allows you to customize what you have. Moving further down the list, check your units. You can have nautical miles and distance and feet for depth, for example, or any combination you see there. Depth and elevation could be feet or it could be meters. Fahrenheit or Celsius, gallons or liters, and pick your way you want this to be displayed. That's the coordinate system that the Coast Guard likes to use. You heard over the announced on channel 16 when they see a problem. This is the one that most mariners like. Minutes and parts of a minute. So it depends on what your purpose is, and Aqua Map lets you go either way. And for here, degrees true or magnetic, how you want it to be displayed. Now, automatic updates. I have automatic updates always. I always wanted to be updated. I have a data plan anyway for my tablet that's unlimited, so I have everything. You may want just Wi-Fi only, but please don't check never. Your charts get out of date in a hurry that way. That shows you how much you have. Now it depends upon allow iOS to delete maps in case of low available space. That's a useful thing if you have low memory. I don't have low memory, so I don't check that, but it's an option if you do. And these are some sound effects and animation to make it easier to do things. Button auto hide. You see on that first screen we had buttons around the perimeter. If you want to hide the buttons, it's you can check this tool to make them not visible. If you're on an iPhone, for example, the screen's not so big, you may want to auto hide to be in effect. Even if you have auto hide in effect, once you touch the screen, they all come back automatically. So they don't go forever. And you want to be able to disable auto lock so the screen doesn't disappear or decide to turn itself off when you're navigating. And finally, at the bottom of the menu screen, you have a couple of things you can, if you have a problem with purchases, try and do that. And this email icon is important. Rather than ask a question on the Facebook page, if you submit it here, once you get feedback on to them, it tells Aqua Map what version you're using, the type of device you're using, what the iOS or the OS version is, and some other information useful to them to debug what's happening, as opposed to a question, and then a back and forth that says, well, what version you're using, what device you're using, what's your OS level. It's all contained inside the email icon when you answer that way. Okay, now you're all set to go. All the charts are loaded. Aqua Map Master subscribe. USAC surveys are visible. GPS tracking is on. What more do you need? Well, wait. What about the Bob 423 tracks? That blue dotted line. Well, what are they based on anyway? They're based obviously on Bob 423 trips on the ICW, but also in USAC survey updates. But it's also based on dredging contracts. And dredging may not be down the center of the channel. In the case of Jekyll, the only dredge, the part of the channel towards the east, 75 feet of the 150 feet channel. They were limited to do that due to the limitations placed upon them by EPA on the amount of dredge material they could dispose of. But they chose to do one side. And I think the reason they did that is that's where the marina was located down there. And they wanted to do as much as they could to make the marina usable. So they used that. And what I did when that happened, I looked at all these turning points and drew the line between them and made that the Bob 423 track. And it took 2 years before USACE got around to doing another survey. So for that period of time, the track was the only way through there that matched what they dredged. But eventually the survey was done, and the Bob 423 line was right down the middle of the survey. So that was a good case, and one reason why the track, 423 track, is valuable to have. Now, I also have something called Bob 423 surveys. And what's happening there is they are people set up with the same instrumentation I have, and they send tracks to me with embedded depths. And I compare what they saw what I saw, and if I see a better path that they took, I will change the Bob 423 track to match it and gives advantage to everybody on what the best way is. I also use verified shoaling from 21,000 member ICW Cruising Guide webpage. That's come in handy about 4 or 5 times where I've changed the track because people have noticed shoaling come in from one side where it wasn't there before. So all this information is embedded in the tracks, and the tracks get updated sometimes once a week, sometimes once a month, but certainly not once a year. So how do you do this? Well, you use the Chrome browser because Chrome is kind of useful to use, and it's across many platforms. You tap on Bob 423 long tracks, and you see bobicw.blogspot.com. That's an active link. You tap that, you'll get the chart on the left here. You tap on Bob 423 long tracks, as you see, and then you get this page, and load tracks 1 to 4 with one tap for each track. Now the last 6 digits of the track is the date. Always use the latest track. So that is the date. If you have a track that is older than that, your track is out of date. And on ICW, that can lead to things you don't want to happen. Now the best way of doing this is go through Bob 423 AutoSync. That way, once it's set up, then there's nothing for you to do. Your tracks are updated automatically. When I update a new track, you get it within seconds. These steps have to be going through for each of the 4 tracks you want. And we're trying to make that easier for you to use, but so far, here's what you do. It's easier than what you think. Just take a manual, sit down for about 10 minutes, and get synced into Bob 423. That way you always have the latest tracks. It automatically erases the old track, replaces it with the new track. So there's nothing you have to do other than go through the procedure to get on automatic sync. Tap at the bottom here for more details on what's required or how to do it. It gives them more detail on what you see on the left, although on the left it's enough for you to do it. Use Route Explorer now to follow the tracks. What's the use? Now you have a track. You can follow it manually and be happy doing that, but there's more you can do. Note the direction of the track. You see these little arrows that tells you which way the track is going. In this case, it's going from north to south. It happens to be the way I'm going, so I'm happy just going through that direction. And I will tap on that symbol and make it my track. If I wanted to go north, then I have to tap here. Okay, and when I get the screen on the left, I will tap reverse and then tap for track. So here I've got a track that's running. You know it's running because I got this bar, which gives me an option of stopping it. And double tracks show track is activated. Tap on I in the blue circle. Here's what you get. It shows a total distance and ETA at the end of the track shown using boat speed and settings. 23 shoaling alerts, 57 bridges, 39 lift bridges, 42 fueling stops. Interesting, but I'm not going that far today. So what you can do is choose a destination in Route Explorer. Tap on the eye. The pane on the right appears. And tap here in the Route Explorer box, and you'll see what happens on the next chart. You get this display. At the top of it, you have all these selections. I just leave everything highlighted at the moment. If you don't want to see so much information below, you can turn some of it off, but I'll leave it all on. Water Guide and Active Cabin POIs will only display if activated in settings. I only have Waterway Guide activated. You may want both, or you may not want none. I can't imagine why you want none. But I implement, what do we got? Okay, what use is it? Now that I'm going to select a destination. I'm going to go down to Vero Beach. And what I do is I slide this to the left. And what I get is this display. And then I tap right here. And let's see what happens with that. Okay, now I see my destination at the top. It gives me how far it is, at what point in time of day I'm going to arrive there, depending upon when I started my track. And that changes depends upon your speed of your vessel. So if you slow down or speed up, that number changes. So that's kind of interesting. What you see here is the destination time to the next alert, meaning any hazard, the time to the next marina, and the time to the next bridge. Let's see what happens on the next chart. Now, among what you see here is this. Suppose you slow down the POIs to find out more information. You notice you need some fuel. Well, do you stop at Loggerhead or do you stop at Vero Beach? Well, looks like Vero Beach has a better price on fuel than Loggerhead. I think you want to stop at Vero Beach. These fuel prices updated every week or so by a What Do We Guide editor. And you see other information like what the bridge clearance is and what the weather report is. By the way, by the time you get there, predicted for the time of your arrival, not from the time when you actually start out, which is kind of useful. Now, one of the most useful features of this is the fact that you can just focus on bridges. And what you have is automatic timing for bridges. For every bridge along your schedule, and this is through the section down in Florida on the way to Fort Lauderdale, it tells you your time to the bridge. That's the lift bridge. When you're going to arrive, how far away it is. When you're going to arrive to the next bridge. When you're going to arrive to all these bridges. So your timing to the bridge is automatically given to you. You automatically, since you're following the 423 track, you know you're finding the deepest water already. And you can find out more detail about any of the bridges as far as opening time, for example, by tapping on the eye. It'll bring up another chart that shows you what the opening schedule is. So this takes away a bunch of manual stuff that you just have to do. You don't have to do any figuring in your head. You don't have to do a route where you put a route waypoint on top of a bridge, which is what I used to do. Automatic route explorer does it for you automatically as part of Aqua Map. And there's a ton of information for you here. Tap on any of the eyes next to What Do We Guide icon, and you get all this information. You get the marina, you get the phone number if you want to call. You get the address of it. You get the Vero Beach City Marina as far as the fuel, and more importantly, when it was updated. You know what the date of the fuel price is. You get information as far as what's nearby. You get information on what their price is, which is kind of handy to know before you arrive. And you get a bunch of reviews of what people think about the marina. And you get the approach depth and such. All this is available at a tap of an eye. What could be easier? And you can also make your own routes. You don't have to depend upon my tracks. Make your own routes. Tap on the on this to start forming the route. Tap any with a chart for the next route and so on. Waypoints can be moved, added, route saved. The best way to learn is by watching the video on forming routes right here. This is an active link in the PDF file. It will take you to a video. Well, what have we learned? We learned how to display USACE surveys, set up an Aqua Map the way you want, and start using for ICW navigation. import tracks and routes, including Bob 43 tracks. Enable autosync for Bob 43 tracks. Use Route Explorer to find ETAs or bridges and other POIs, and you can make your own routes. However, what have we not learned? Aqua Map is incredibly rich feature rich. There's a sophisticated anchor watch we haven't even talked about much. You can see what your boat is doing in real time as you dine, because you can mirror what your iPad sees that's mounted at your helm with the iPhone holding in your hand. So not only can you see how you're approaching the edge of your limit, you can find out, is it north, south of your anchor? Is it to the west of your anchor? Is it getting halfway towards your anchor point alarm, or is it close to it, or is it not moved at all? You can see it in real time as you're dining. You see weather overlays for wind, currents, and waves. There's a very sophisticated time and currents displays. I haven't gone through it all. There are AIS displays with time and distance or close approach with alarms that I haven't covered. There's a lot of connection techniques to Wi-Fi. All the gateways that are popular are already wired into Aqua Map. So you look up the name of the gateway you're using, tap a button, everything is set up for you automatically. And embedding your depths and recorder tracks for future use about how to access a NOAA crowdsourced database. I haven't talked about that. There are much more. All could be covered perhaps in an Aqua Map manual. Further references for ICW cruisers. There's a 2023 ICW cruising guide. That's an active link. If you tap on that, it brings you to an Amazon webpage. There's a digital version from Waterway Guide. Again, an active link. That takes you to Waterway Guide to order it. Waterway Guide guidebooks from Amazon. An active link will take you to the Amazon. No, not the Amazon site. It'll take you right to the Waterway Guide site for details. The 2024 ICW chart book, North Fork to Key West, including St. Lucie to Fort Myers, and major inlets. 400 pages of charts from Amazon in the paper format, which is no longer being published or updated by NOAA, but most of these have been updated to 2023 and 2024. They're the last charts out there. They have some features that people still like, such as all the bridges have their heights on them and widths, and other features that work that the RNC format has a problem with. That the ENC format, by the way, has a problem with. So I hope you enjoyed this seminar. Please leave suggestions for improvements with Messenger address on Facebook. Additional links are in the QR code. For those with the PDF file, just tap on that link. It'll take you to another page on the download page, and it gives you a bunch of stuff, more stuff you look at. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Give me feedback if you can on the Messenger address on Facebook, and we'll see what we can do in the future. So happy navigating on ICW. Now that you have a way of avoiding all those little nasty shallow areas, and as I said before, continue to let me make all the mistakes first so you don't have to. And what I try to do in order to avoid those you don't have to areas is do the Bob 43 track that finds a